Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In this next story, we've got late-night fries, a sweet waitress, and some unsolicited advice from a guy who seriously overestimated his importance. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Change the amount I'm tipping? Okay. So I decide to go get food somewhere. The place I go to has some bar seats, and there's 3 other people there in a group. I sit down and get 2 orders of fries and talk to my waitress for probably 15 minutes, and she's an absolute sweetheart. We were talking about college and all the stress, and the entire time those 3 boys were cutting in, not trying to be rude, but kind of just repeating and agreeing with our points. I guess this made them feel justified with telling me my math was wrong later. This whole time I'm eating my fries, and they're delicious for 2 a.m. garbage food. When I'm done, I get my bill, and my total is $6.34. I put down $10 because that's the smallest bill I've got, and I liked her, so I tell her to keep the change. I'm getting up to leave, and one of the boys stops me and says, "You overtipped her. She should have got like 60 cents. And I just stopped for like 10 seconds trying to process what just happened before replying, "That's not even 10%, and I liked her, so I gave her more. What's it to you?" He shrugs at me and says, "I just thought you'd want to know." His friends look awkward but not embarrassed or surprised, and I'm just trying to figure out what I did to lead him to think I wanted his advice. While I'm being silent, he continues, "It's just when you do that, they get expectant and treat us like crap when we give them the right amount." Which is wrong, because standards where I am are 15%, and he wanted me to give 9%. It's 2 a.m., and I'm not having this. I had a good time with a really nice waitress and good fries, and I'm exhausted. I work in retail, and I'm used to being yelled at and berated by customers over coupons. I just think to myself, okay, this is your chance to finally get it over on one of those crapheads. I look this boy in the face, and as I'm digging through my purse, I tell him, "You're right, I should change my tip." He nods at me, and I pull out the only other cash I have on hand, which is $20, and I marched right over to the waitress and handed it to her. And giving him my best customer service smile voice, thank the customer for the idea and leave. Edit. I know some waitstaff make a good living and easily get $30 an hour after tips, but my town certainly isn't big enough for having that many people go out to eat to really sustain that sort of wage. From what I've heard from friends, they tend to get $6 to $10 an hour depending on where they worked and what time. OP is female, waitress is female, the other 3 are presumably male. This took place in a local restaurant bar that's open all night but serves beer for limited hours and has a dining room open when they do. I was there while the dining room was closed. From what I could tell, it was just us 5 and the unseen cook in the place. Working retail definitely teaches you a thing or two about dealing with entitled customers, and this was the perfect opportunity to deliver a bit of karma. And let's not forget our waitress, probably ending her night with a huge smile thanks to OP's well-played revenge. Moral of the story, mind your own tipping etiquette or risk publicly humiliating yourself. Beautifully handled, OP. And our second story. Karen upset because she needs to get a mini Bluetooth speaker. This story happened about an hour ago. I was coming back from work and had to stop at Walmart's. I'll be using this name instead of the actual store name to get new headphones since the ones I used for work as a sine waiver decided to break. I got to Walmart's quickly, trying to just get in and out of the store to grab the headphones. I went straight to the back where the electronics are, looking everywhere for them. I was having trouble finding them, so I went to the help desk to ask. That's when this lady, let's call her Glenda, stopped me and asked, "Hey, do you know where the Bluetooth mini speakers are?" This lady didn't look like a Karen at all. She seemed calm and respectful. I told her, "Actually, I'm not sure," and she quickly cut me off, asking if I could ask the employee behind me. I thought, sure, whatever, a good deed for today. The guy pointed in the direction of the speakers, and she quickly left after giving a small thank you. I had to interrupt the guy again for the headphones, and he pointed me to the same lane as the speakers.
I went to look, and Glenda came up to me, realizing I wasn't an employee, and said, "Oh, sweetie, I'm embarrassed. I thought you were an employee when I asked you about the speakers."
I giggled and told her, "It's okay, I don't mind at all." We both went back to the electronics desk to ask the employee to open the locked items. Me and Glenda noticed the employee was just chatting with these two boys until he realized we were waiting. He then asked Glenda what she needed. Glenda quickly told him about the speaker, but he cut her off and said, "I'm not actually employed by Galmarts. I work with a phone company that has a contract with them. I don't have the keys, and the employee who's supposed to be here is late, but he'll be here in about 15 minutes or so." Glenda just stared at him for at least a minute and a half. I backed up as she let out the loudest scream ever. She screamed, "Manager! Manager! Manager! Get me the manager now! This is unacceptable!" I was right next to her and backed away, heading back to the headphone section. I decided to wait until the other employees came, and then I saw Glenda and a manager walking to the lane I was in for the speaker. I politely stopped the manager before he left and asked him if he could open this one too, but I was cut off by him. He said, "I'm sorry, you have to go to..." But he was cut off. We were both stunned as Glenda started screaming again. "No, no, 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 no! Help her now! She was right after me, and she helped me when she doesn't work here. She was respectful, not like your other employee. Help her now!" I was so embarrassed. The manager looked so pissed at me, too, as we walked back to the register. Once Glenda finished paying, she stopped, looked me up and down, then patted my back and said, "Thanks, girl. I think these employees are racist, but you respected me, so I got you." And she left. I quickly apologized to the manager, saying I wasn't expecting any of that to happen. He nodded, and I left. I was actually stopped again by a man asking for help, but he noticed my lanyard around my neck and was sure I worked there. I was finally able to help him. I didn't, but I flagged down another employee to help him before I left. I wasn't expecting this at all. I hope you enjoyed reading this. Sounds like she didn't walk into the store a Karen, but turned into one when the real manager was refusing to unlock the cabinet for you two. She sounded like she didn't quite understand the difference between contract employees, people who don't really work at the store but for an outside vendor, and the actual store employees. She did realize you didn't work at the store and wasn't a rude, entitled piece of work. And our next story. Just spray? Okay. While in college finishing up my ME degree, I worked at a collision repair center, auto body. I started as a car washer. After about a month, I was in the office mirroring insurance estimates. I was good at it and picked up the software quite well, so I ended up dealing more with customers and eventually became an advisor. A few months go by and the used car advisor left the company and I took on his responsibilities on top of my own. So now I have salespeople to deal with. These salespeople at this company were the greediest and neediest people around. They always wanted theirs done first so that they could make more money, but wanted to repair the vehicle as cheaply as possible. This meant they wanted to cut corners like not removing anything from the vehicle unless absolutely necessary, which made my job very difficult. So on with the MC. It was a bright Friday and morning, and there happened to be a white Lexus from one of the dealerships there to get the front bumper repainted. So I went out to do my estimate at the lower rate since it's basically in-house, but I still have to pay my techs. They had quite a bit of curb rash and the paint was already flaking away from the previous bad repair, so I emailed their manager the estimate I did. It went something along the lines of, "Me, hey, the Lexus has a bit of damage to it. We need to remove the bumper, repair, and paint it. It'll be around $290, which is about a third of the actual amount it would cost for repair." Him, "What? It's just the bumper. Just paint the thing." Me, "It needs to be repaired. You'll still see the damage." Him, "Just spray it." This is where I got tired of them trying to push me around. I've just gotten the go-ahead to just paint the bumper, so I went out with the email and RO to the shop and told one of my techs that I wanted him to just scuff and paint the bumper. He tried to contest, saying about the damage, and I told him just do it and that the car will be back next week and he'd get paid twice to do it. I then went and let my manager know what I was doing, and he laughed and said good luck. The car got done late Friday, and they came down and grabbed it that Saturday. Now, Monday morning, I come in, and there's a lovely voicemail of the manager from that dealership screaming his head off about the car. I called him back and said if he wants it done right, he'll be paying me again. This didn't sit well, as there was now an email to my manager and the owner of him trying to berate me into folding. Wasn't going to happen. My manager backed me up completely, and the owner had a good laugh at the email chain. I still hate sales because of them. And our last story. The Founder's Return. This is a story I once heard from a friend, and I just had to share it here. I've changed the names and a few details so no one would guess who it's really about, but the core of it is absolutely true. In Austin, Texas, 2001, in a small office on the third floor of an old business center, Alex Reeves stared down at the documents in front of him with the same look he'd once worn in the Army, right before a night jump into unfamiliar territory. Signatures. Just a formality, they said. Friends, they said. It's just to streamline the structure for investors, said Travis, his startup partner. Doesn't change anything. You're still with us, added John, the third in their trio. Alex signed. 3 weeks later, they kicked him out of the company he'd built with his own hands. Bite Nest Inc. was no longer his. By 2009, Alex was living in a trailer beneath the mountains in Colorado. He coded by day and freelanced to survive, building websites for cafes, automation tools for small businesses, and occasionally doing cybersecurity gigs. He got by. Barely. But instead of spending, he invested, slowly, quietly. A few stocks here and there, some games to kill time. And one day, more for fun than anything, he bought some Bitcoin out of sheer curiosity, around $300 worth. Back then, Bitcoin was just some weird digital thing, a joke almost. Someone on Reddit called it the future of money. Alex smiled and clicked buy. Then he bought more. Then he started mining on his old ThinkPad. In 2014, his hard drive crashed. Panic, anger, despair. He walked around like a zombie, convinced he'd lost everything. But a month later, he opened an old book, Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. On the inside of the back cover, written in tiny letters, was a strange poem he had once encrypted himself. It was his seed phrase. His wallet came back to life. In 2021, Bitcoin exploded, $60,000 per coin. Alex sat in that same trailer, staring at his screen, speechless. He was rich. Not buy a new car rich, buy back my damn company rich. He hired lawyers, and through shell investors, he began quietly buying Bite Nest stock. Slowly, strategically, every time an employee sold a portion, he was there. By the time Bite Nest was preparing for IPO, Alex owned 48% of the company. He was back in the game. In a sleek boardroom in Austin, 2023, 10 executives in suits sat around a dark wood table. Travis and John sat at the head, prepping for the biggest presentation of their careers. The Bite Nest logo glowed on the screen behind them. The doors opened. A man walked in, dressed in a gray suit and cowboy boots. "This is a joke?" said Travis, eyes narrowing. "Sorry, this meeting's for board members only," added John, coldly. Alex smiled and placed a folder on the table. "I'm your largest shareholder now, also acting CEO. I'm here to take back what's mine." Silence. Then chaos. A week later, Alex stood before the company's employees. No suit, just him, plainly dressed, calm, honest. "I didn't come for revenge. I came to take back what was mine. The company isn't built just on ideas. It's built on values. I was betrayed, but I didn't break. And now we build not for shares, but for people." Someone clapped, then others, then the whole room. Today, Alex still lives in Colorado. He bought a house, not a mansion, but a cozy home near the forest. He still uses the same laptop and wears the same cowboy boots. Bite Nest is growing again, but this time without betrayal, without shady paperwork, without friends who sell you out. If you ever find an old book with strange verses scribbled on the back, it might not just be a poem. It might be someone's story of return. There's some kind of magic in old laptops, and I'm sorry to lose mine. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.